Professor Unger, will you briefly explain the process at the editorial board at the New York Times and how that process shapes the editorial pieces which appear in the paper?
We have meetings 3 times a week, and they're attended by 12 or 13 or 14 people, all of whom have special areas that they cover: science, health policy, fiscal policy, economics, foreign policy, politics, etc. And they prepare on their own pitches that they bring to the editorial board meeting, where they describe what they want to write about and what they're going to say. And there's discussion that anyone can take part in, brief discussion, 1 or 2 minutes discussion, and then the top editors of the page decide whether they want a piece and when they want to, and what day they want to run it.
You mentioned in your seminar that the New York Times has its own shadow foreign policy. What do you mean by this, and why is it important that the paper plays this role in America?
I can tell you what it means by it. Why it's important is another question. What I mean is that it's just helpful to be coming from some consistent set of values and purposes. There's no way to decide what the United States' interest is in, say, China or Japan or North Korea or any other country, or the Arab world that we were talking about today, without understanding what you think the role of the United States should be in the world, what values it should be upholding, what is in its interest, where its vital interests are engaged. So it's a good frame of reference, and it makes these tiny little 450-word essays a little more coherent if they fit into a larger consistent whole from time to time.
As an editorialist whose career has been primarily based on writing about American foreign policy, what happens when you find yourself in a nation filled with people who are less and less concerned about foreign policy?
Well, my job is to make them more and more concerned, not just to create more readers for my own piece, but because I obviously do think it's important. And I try to convey to people why it is important to their lives, why it's important to the tax position of the United States, the spending position, the civil liberties position of the United States, how Americans are seen in the world and the American economy. I don't see foreign policy as a narrow niche for foreign policy specialists, but about America in the world, which almost every American can be interested in if addressed in the right way.
Thank you, Professor Unger.